On the day in my life. So rewind. Yesterday, I was having a good time, but I wanted to talk about how wealth is, and I really had to pray to God and make sure everything is okay. So after I got finished making the video, um, my mom has just been on my heart for like the last, I want to say, like week or so. I hadn't talked to her in like about a month. Um, Didn't know what was going on. Still don't know what's going on. So, I called my aunt. She said she hadn't talked to her either. But when I talked to her, I called her because I really don't try to keep in contact with my aunt sometimes because, you know, people just having extra stuff. She's always being messy. That's what it is, okay? It's called being messy. But, whatever, to each his own. So, I didn't really try to call her or talk to her unless it's something, really important. Well, that's with most of my family because I just don't, the extra drama with everybody, it overwhelms me. So, yeah, I call my aunt and I'm like, have you talked to her? She said she hadn't talked to her in like 2 weeks, which had to be longer than 2 weeks because I talked to her 2 weeks ago and she said she didn't talk to her. So I was like, okay, my aunt's 2 weeks is like 3 weeks to a month, it's the extra. So, I was like, I need to go find my mom. Like, I need to go find what is going on because I know when she has episodes where she doesn't talk to people, either she is in some trouble or she's in some trouble. Like, she's in some trouble where either she's, she can't tell what is what, or she's in some trouble where someone's manipulating her, and people will see that and they will see that as a weakness, and she's really friendly and everything, and they will take total and complete advantage, okay? Yeah. So I called the numbers that she had, and she had this one number saying it was her friend's number. And that was the only number that I know that was still responsive. But I had called this number before. That's what made me start thinking about it. Because I called this number, like, I want to say, about 2 months ago and no one answered. But it was still ringing. So something told me to call this number because no one else was answering on the other numbers. Even though the phones are on. So I called the number and this guy answered. And I'm like, hello? And he's like, who is this? And I'm like, who is this? And he's like, Belle. And I'm like, yeah, who is this? So he starts explaining how he's my mom's boyfriend and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, I knew she had a boyfriend already. I talked very short with him before, but not too much because my mom just really didn't let me talk to him. So, whatever. Then he tells me that I was like, I was just trying to get in contact with my mom. I know this is your phone. She told me this was a friend's phone and blah, blah, this. He says, no, this is the house phone. So now I found out that my mom is like straight up just lied about, that being the freaking house phone. And I'm like, okay, here she goes again. Like, and, yeah, he goes in and he's explaining how he can't take this anymore. She left and, she's been in her room for a whole week and he's asking her, can we talk or whatever? And she's like, no. No, she didn't say anything. She was just dead. And I was like, that's what people do with schizophrenia. And he's like taking it so personal. Like, she just rejected me, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. And it's like, I was trying to explain to him, like, people with schizophrenia, they get to the point where when they feel depressed, they get dull. It's like a dull moment. You can't really talk to them. They're not going to be able to explain or say anything or have a normal conversation with them. Everything is dead. Everything is intensified when they're depressed, especially when you're dealing with bipolar schizophrenia. And that's what my mom has. They used to call it manic depression schizophrenia, but it is bipolar schizophrenia now because of they changed the label back because they said it was too much negative. But yeah, so I had to explain to him what was going on. He was like, well, I understand bipolar because I have depression. I was like, no, that's not the same thing. When you have depression, everyone has depression in their life. At least one time in their life, you might lose a job. He was like, yeah, I lost a job. I was like, yeah, okay, I've had that before. It's like when you go down and you have a rough ride patch. But with schizophrenia, they can't tell the difference from reality. They have, this whole thing. And she has paranoid schizophrenic, which means that she would think someone's after her, something's chasing her. So I was trying to explain to him, like, he was like, she left and I don't know where she's at and I don't know what to do. I asked her, did she want me to leave? And I said yes. And I was like, okay, that made me kind of think, like, because usually if you have that, it made me just think about a lot, and it made me intensify, because even when you have this, if you want someone to leave, you usually, like, you'll say yes, but then you'll say no. It'll be kind of hesitant. So I was like, did she say no later? He was like, no, she just been in her room. She's been real sad. She's just been really out of it. Excuse me. So I said, okay, well, the next time you see her, try to be nice to her and get her calm. Has she taken her medications? He said, no, she hadn't taken her medications because the mail came in and he was getting a mail order and she hadn't been taking it. So I'm like, okay, that should have been a red flag too. But anywho, it's hard. Like, people don't even understand. Sometimes I feel like it drains me sometimes, having a mom like that. Now, I love my mom. Don't get me wrong, even with all her ups and downs. When my mom is stable, she is really, really, really good, But when she is off the meds, when she is off, and not feeling herself, it's not good. It's not a good thing, And some people can function without the medication, but she's been on there so long, since she was in her, early 20s when this happened. She's like in her 60s now. It's almost too late for her to come off, of the medication without having these intense withdrawals that she does, So not to knock with anyone's holistic thing, because I do believe, some of these people that are labeled with these mental illnesses, they are not, okay? However, with this case, it is very intense. Like, my mom will get up, and I had that problem before when I was like 15. She left, and she was just traveling. Like, when she gets depressed, she just needs an outlet, and she runs away, and she gets up, and she just goes, like, and will not freaking come back. Like, will not come back until she's, like, totally messed up. Totally, like, we had to find her. She had went all across the country of the United States, and we had to find her. She was trying to come back, but we found her underneath a Greyhound bus in the storage compartment, and she was there the whole time and just out of it, like, out of it. And it wasn't, they don't have that much help like that, like, especially in Gary, they don't have that much help for dealing with mental illness. If it's any kind of help dealing with mental illness, it's usually dealing in the areas that is highly populated with alcohol and drugs, and people with a lot of money to cover it up, like freaking Fort Wayne, like freaking Muncie, like those places, those farm areas where they have enough, and like 70 to 90% of their children are on drugs. They don't have that, so dealing with schizophrenia, dealing with any type of mental illness, and then how intense my mom is with her illnesses, is really, really hard. And then you have people, when she does go back into recovery and try to get back together, you have other people that are reliving in the past, like judging her for what she has done. That kind of set her back, because I saw the guy, he was telling me, I heard her boyfriend, he was telling me how he didn't even know what happened in her past, and I'm like, well, she wasn't ready to tell you, you guys only met for like, what, almost 2 years and you guys are living together. So that's, yeah. So anywho, yeah, it's really tough. So now I have to find a way to get back to that area and find out what's happened. I was like, I wasn't going to call the police, but it's already been 24 hours now. Because if you call them before, then they won't, the law lets them do whatever. Now I do, it could be a chance where she won't tell me where she's at, and she's entitled to do that. They let them do that, especially if they're guardianship of themselves. And my mother is very intelligent when she is stable. When she is stable, okay? She can have guardianship over herself. And but when she's not, she's just out of it. But the police won't tell you anything what's going on, which is another thing that fears me, because she could say that she's okay, or somebody can be manipulating her like she was in before, and they can say that tell them that she's okay, and that happened before. And I've been in that situation before. I've been in a whole violence. I don't have schizophrenic or manic depression or anything like that, but I've had instances where I'm with an individual who was horrible to me, and in order to cease the peace, like, just calm everything, cease everything from just jumping off, I would just say, okay, I'm fine, when I know I'm totally in shambles, okay? This person is, like, totally destroying me, and, but I just don't want the whole thing to intensify. So, this is what I have to deal with. It wasn't anything that it's nothing that I can do about it. I wasn't, I was born into the situation. It was nothing that I could do about it. And it trickles down, so much people don't understand. Like, if I had someone who was mentally stable, that, was parents, and they, everything was kind of, and they had not normal, they had issues, just regular issues, and they were dealing with, like, domestic violence or something like that, then it will be okay. But dealing with the mental illness on top of crazy stuff, it intensifies stuff. So, yeah, I know I'm rambling a lot, but that's my whole take on it. Like, dealing with schizophrenic, the illness is sometimes hell on earth if you don't understand what it is and have patience for it. So, for all those who have mothers or parents or siblings that are going through this, I understand. I had to live with it, not only with her, but people in my neighborhood that I just couldn't get away from. People think that you can just throw people away or you can put them in an asylum. It's not going to do anything. All you're doing is making yourself create a bubble to protect yourselves from feeling bad about, or feeling safe, because everyone wants to feel safe. So they say, we put this away, just like we put people in prison. We get this away, they'll be okay. But they feel like they're rehabilitated, then, it's not like that. So, I understand. I can't really fault the police or anything, or because our government is just like that. And that's not just, well, mostly in the Western world. When I go to, like, different other places, they understand what's going on, and they can tell and, like, relate to, and they understand what's going on in the lineage. But that's a whole nother discussion. I don't really think I should get into that today, but I did want to talk about the mental illness and how it's really, really, it can affect you, and whether you have a mental illness or not, it's a lot of stress on me. Like, as a kid, looking for my mom constantly, making sure that she's okay, making sure that her meds are okay. When she, sometimes tries to attack me, I've had that too. It's not an easy job, so I not commend, but I'm grateful, and I understand people who have to endure this, and I commend people who don't try to put put people up and throw them away. I think that's why I changed my occupation and just became a professional helper and started dealing with people with issues that couldn't get them on their own, couldn't fix them on their own, or couldn't get the assistance on their own. And we all need help anyway. So yeah, I'm not gonna stay on here too long because I gotta go to work, and I need to take a shower. Hopefully something I said or done will help you on your journey. Stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem. Thank you.